Uh, is it okay if I get to know everybody? Just quick introduction and what course you guys are doing. All right, my name is Herman. As you've been told, I was a student here. I did MBA in non-profit management, and now I work for the Welcoming Center for New Pennsylvanians, and it's an economic development organization whose mission is to connect immigrants to economic opportunities. And our work is based on a simple premise, and that is that when you have if there is an inflow of new workers, entrepreneurs, and people are coming to do their things in the state, that is good for the economy, the state. Okay? So that if you look at the census for last year, the 2010 census, for the first time in so many years, the population of Pennsylvania increased. We experienced a population growth, and most of it was as a result of immigration. So at the Welcoming Center, we see immigration as an asset. Migrants are an asset to the community where they settle, to the state where they are, and generally they are an asset to the country where immigration takes place. So how do we connect our immigrants to economic opportunities? We have 4 main programs that we conduct. The first one is employment, and what we do through employment placement is that there are 2 categories of immigrants that immigrate into the United States. They're the highly skilled ones, people who are some are doctors, engineers, and so from their countries. And then there are those who immigrate without any skill at all. And once you come to America, you have to pay your bills. So our program tries to cater to both the 2 groups. So if you are an engineer in your country and you decide to immigrate to the United States, and maybe you did your engineering in Arabic or another language, and now you're trying to adjust yourself to become an engineer in Pennsylvania, what many people do not understand is that sometimes it might take even 10 years before you actually become an engineer in the same field that you're practicing. So what Welcoming Center did was to develop some, you can call them soft tools. We put up a guidebook of samples at the back, which when our customers come in and they're asking so many questions, so we will give you something like this. This is just a sample of what we make, becoming a mechanical engineer in Pennsylvania. So this is one of the services that we provide to our skilled immigrants. Then those who do not have any skill, okay, we provide them with vocational training. We train them on various things like how to fill an application if you're going to look for a cleaning job in a restaurant or in a hotel. Once you do that and you start working, how do you operate or behave or conduct yourself in workplace? There are a few things that if you're an immigrant, you might not know how to think that you are supposed to do. So we provide them with that training so that they learn how to conduct themselves in the workplace. And our programs are based mainly in the Greater Philadelphia area, and our employment department right now at this time we deal with at least 300 employers that we send people to, both skilled and unskilled. The vocational and language training mainly it's focused mainly to people who immigrate and have got deficiency in English language, so that what they learn is just basic communication, how you can communicate either at your place of work, or if you're a parent and you have children, how to communicate with your teachers when you go to school, or if you're to go to the hospital, how you communicate with your nurses. Just that is the basic that we provide. But then we also collaborate with other organizations that provide in-depth English training. When it comes to the kind of vocations that Welcoming Center provide, the main one that we are funded to provide at this time is the home health aid. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania is one of the states with a very high population of elderly people. So the business of taking care of the elderly is a very big business. There are profits that are doing that business, and there are also full profit organizations engaged in senior care. And each and every place where these senior citizens are, they need care. And so it's a job that does not require so much skills. So it's easier for an immigrant who did not have any formal education in their country to be given a 6 weeks training and be able to do that kind of job. So we provide that training, and we do it twice a year. Every year we have got 2 groups graduating from our location in Philadelphia. Legal clinics is is a program that came as a result of the predatory nature of attorneys. Yeah? So there are so many cases of people who are being cheated out of their money, people lying to them that they can actually help them get things like green cards, employment, whatever, so many things. So we had so many cases of people who have been defrauded by different law firms here and there. So what Welcoming Center decided to do was to put together a list of trustworthy attorneys that our clients can go to. And we circulate that list to all the organizations that come in contact with immigrants. And we also provided that list to different government agencies where immigrants go to. And then the last one is the small business development. And that is a program that I work under. And what we do in small business development is, number one, we work with people who immigrated to the United States and would like to start their own businesses and do not know where to start. Number two, we deal with groups of immigrants who've been living here. Some have been here for the last 30 years. Okay? The businesses which have kind of stagnated at a point, they cannot move to the next level. Okay? And then the third category of group that we deal with is groups that came through the Welcoming Center employment program and have been working in the field and have saved enough money and are now ready to get into the businesses, in most cases related to the work that they've been doing. So, for example, we have people who came through Welcoming Center to go and work in the cleaning business, cleaning restaurants here and there. They did that job for some years, saved enough money, and then they come back to us. Now we help them to start their own cleaning company. So those are the things that how we approach our work. So when you talk about immigrant entrepreneurs, there are a lot of barriers that they face. Okay, and these barriers sometimes, if you do not find the right organization or a mentor to guide you, you can end up taking a very long time to make a break in your business. And some of these barriers, the most critical one is lack of financing. Everybody who has been here for long knows that even if you want to get a cell phone, they have to check your credit history. If you don't have good credit, you cannot even get a cell phone. Okay? So you can imagine what it means to somebody who is trying to get $20,000 to start a business. Here you are, you're an immigrant, you have got no credit history, and sometimes you don't have the money. So what happens is that from all the clients that we deal with, you realize that it takes most immigrants up to 8 years just to save money to start one business. And the disadvantage of that to the general community or the country's economy is that this is somebody that if he could be given money at the start, then you can imagine where that business will be in the 8 years that they have to wait to save money in order to start that business. So solving that problem, what Welcoming Center did was to, number one, we are collaborating with organizations that are funded through Small Business Administration to provide microfinance to small businesses. And then number two, we are also collaborating with the credit counseling companies to work with our clients to help them be in the right path where they can develop their credits. Okay? Normally it takes close to 1 year. When you join the program, they'll work with you so that by the end of the year, you have some credit to show. And then after that, you graduate to the next level where we connect you to a bank that will finance your business. So that has helped so many of the clients that you deal with to cut that waiting time, so that if you're planning to start a business, if you let us know, then you can continue working, doing the job that you're doing, and saving little money that you're saving, but you're also concurrently undertaking the credit development program, develop your credit, and that makes you ready so that when the time comes for you to start the business, you're ready, and the bank is also ready for you.
Is it okay if we ask questions, or
yeah, it's okay. It's okay.
So what about failed ventures? Like, how do you recoup that money? If is there any type of accountability system to see if there's actually a return on the investment from the Welcome Center? Like, what about failed business ventures? You're giving money to people to start businesses, and then the businesses end up failing.
It's not free money.
Okay.
Yeah, and the way they do, the way the micro lenders that we work with, so long as you have their money, it's like they go to the same bed with you. They don't give you like a break. So they monitor your progress. They know about your sales. If you're in a retail business, they know about your sales. And if you're in the service industry, they have to track like how many invoices are coming in. Yeah, so, and then they don't give you like the whole amount of money at once. It's being disbursed at stages. Yeah, and in most cases, it's not going to be like hard cash coming in your pocket. For example, I'll give you an example. We had a business in Woodland Avenue who wanted to buy new freezers for his butchery. Okay? And we connected him with an organization called Merchants Fund. And Merchants Fund, what they do is that they give grants. So when he qualified for that grant, he didn't get the hard cash. What they did was that the Merchants Fund sent money directly to the people manufacturing the freezers. He didn't get the money, but he got the freezer. Okay? And he was only able to qualify for that money because of the track record that he has. He had proved that he's somebody that can, whatever investment he puts in that business, it was going to bring new revenue. Yeah. So, yeah.
Can you explain a little bit more how you help clients build credit?
The way it works is asking how we help clients build credit. The credit counseling organizations, what they do is that when you come in and you do not have any credit, first of all, they'll walk you through different steps. One of them is like arranging for you so that if you're paying rent or if you have a cell phone, because there's so many things that people purchase but are not reported to the credit bureau. So what they do is that they help all these little purchases that you make to be reported so that they are reflected in your credit history. So even if it means getting a small credit card, they'll help you do that and make sure that they monitor how you use it, and every purchase that you make, they make sure that those transactions are recorded and reported. And they work with you in stages, and you can see how the credit is building when you start, and when it reaches a point whereby it's okay for you now to be respected by lenders, then that is when they take you to the lenders now. Yeah, so it's a process. Some people it takes 1 year, some people it takes longer, and also there are people who had good credit before, but then the credit got screwed up because maybe you had bills that you didn't pay, and so repairing that also means working with you to work with you. People who had lent you money and making payment arrangements and making sure that whatever can be paid is paid, and whatever cannot be paid, there has to be a way of formally settling it so that it no longer appears in your credit. Lack of social capital. Social capital basically means it's also a sociological concept that means there is value in togetherness. Yeah. So what you'll find is, I'll give you an example. Say you're a Chinese and you have a fast food location in West Philadelphia and you do not speak even a single English. Okay? And then all the businesses around you are people who speak English. So what's going to happen is that every day you go to your store, you open your store and you sit in there, and the only thing you can do is that when a customer comes, they point at the product they want, you sell it to them, and you take the money. But you're just alone. You're a very lonely person. Okay? So we discovered that was one of the main problems that most of the immigrant businesses, especially those who have limited English, were experiencing. And the other thing that happened was that it was not easier for them to integrate into the community where they sell where they sell their products. And that kind of led to resentment in the community, where people started thinking that these people, the way they refer to immigrants is that these people, they're just coming here to take our money, but they don't want to get involved in what is happening in our community. And there's been incidences, mostly in Philadelphia, West Philadelphia, where some store owners have actually been physically attacked. And so to solve that problem, Welcoming Center developed a program where we try, occasionally we go into commercial corridors and we invite all the businesses, both the immigrants and non-immigrants, and then put them in one room. And then create a dialogue, and people start talking. And for the communication to take place, those who do not understand English, we try to come with people who can interpret for them. So social capital is a major problem, but many organizations are coming with different tools to deal with it. Lack of United States is a country of laws. Okay? Anybody who has come from overseas will tell you that even before you go to the United States Embassy to get a visa to come to America, the kind of forms that you'll fill to get that visa, there's so many. Okay? And then once you get to the US, if you want to start a business, what you're going to realize is that there is no uniform business procedure. Okay? So that if you're doing a business in Philadelphia, the license that you get to do business in Philadelphia will be totally different with the license that you're going to use to get to do business in St. David's or in another city. Okay? And because of that complicated nature of the way the business regulations are, it's always very confusing for people to, especially if you're an immigrant, to really understand like where to start. Okay? And so that is a problem, huge problem. Even right now in Philadelphia, the mayor has engaged different task forces to really study the business laws in the city and see if they can streamline them and make them simpler for people to understand. But then again, the people always defend status quo, and is meeting a lot of resistance. Limited English. Migrants are two types. Those who come to the United States and they come from English-speaking countries, those ones in most cases do not have that problem. The people, the problem is those who are coming from countries where English is not their first language. So you want to start business. For you to succeed in business, you have to know how to communicate with your customers. If 90% of your customers speak in English, then if you cannot communicate with them, then it means you will not be able to provide them with that quality customer service that they need. So that in itself is a hindrance to so many businesses. Information is power, okay? And what we learn from our immigrant business owners or people in general is that access to information is something that is a major problem. And the reason for that is because there is no central place where if you come in as an immigrant, say, I want to become a teacher, you'll go into one place and find all the information that you need to become a teacher. Or if you want to start exporting manufactured computer chips from Philadelphia to North Korea, there is nowhere you go and find that information. Okay? So because of that, if you are not connected to an organization that can compile that information for you or direct you to different areas to find the information you need, it becomes very difficult for you to succeed. Okay? So those are the barriers that most immigrant businesses and professionals face in their day-to-day life. So how do we overcome these barriers? Okay. So what Welcoming Center has done, okay. Number one is improve access to information. Okay. So what we have done is that if you come to an organization and you want to become an engineer, you'll have this pamphlet translated. We have it in different languages. There is a copy in French. There is a copy in Korean, in Chinese, in Spanish, in Vietnamese, so that even if English is not your first language, at least we try to provide you access to information in a language that you can understand. When it comes to our businesses, we have also developed guides which are also in different languages, and so that helped a lot of people. And then on our website, also you can find the same information translated in those different languages. The other thing we do for businesses is that we connect them to available resources. Okay? So we have a network of microfinance organizations that work with immigrants. Okay? We have organizations that provide technical assistance. For example, SCORE is one big partner that we collaborate with. Small Business Administration. So the way we do it is that we organize business clinics. Okay? They're done mostly either weekly or bi-monthly, and in different commercial corridors. Sometimes they're done in our offices. And we invite businesses to come in. And so if it's a group of businesses who would like to export products, okay? So we'll bring people from the export agency to come and talk to them, like what are the procedures, what you need to do to start exporting your stuff. Merchants, these are people who already have businesses. So when we go around doing our business mapping surveys, you go in the corridors, you find businesses that have been in existence for a very long time, and the businesses reach a point whereby they cannot grow any further. So people like that need injection of new ideas. Okay? So our work is to basically go into a business and do what you can call a post-mortem, turn it upside down, and then look opportunities on where it can move to the next level. So we provide that service on a one-on-one basis. The other thing is to create social capital in the communities, and this is a problem that is mainly common in urban settings. And since most of our work is based in Philadelphia, okay, and the result was that there was a lot of tension between the immigrant businesses and the native-born businesses. If I give you an example, one of the commercial corridors called 52nd Street. Okay? It's a very big stretch, and if you go there right now, you'll find that over 60% of the businesses on that commercial corridor are owned by immigrants. If you go to Washington Avenue, okay, you'll find that over 80% of the businesses there are owned by immigrants. Okay? So that influx of immigrants coming in and taking over most of the businesses which were originally owned by native people has created some tension, because what has changed is that the commercial corridors has changed, okay? But the neighborhood still remains the same. So if you go on 52nd Street, the neighborhood is still purely African American, but then the commercial corridors has changed, and now you have got more immigrant business owners providing service. So this is always tension, okay? And what Welcoming Center is trying to do, and what we do, is that we always try to bring the two sides together, okay? Making the immigrants, business owners understand that it's the community that sustains their businesses, and the community to understand that the immigrants are here to provide a service, okay? And so we always create avenues where the two groups can always interact.
Question for you on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was going to be one of my questions, which I was going to hold, but since you brought it up,
Okay.
I just wonder, some of the barriers that you presented as being unique to immigrants, I feel like are barriers to anybody that wants to start a business, and maybe is not as privileged as an elite who wants to run a business. And so I'm just wondering if you could candidly express kind of what are some of the assumptions that the organization Welcome Center makes, or what are some of the political assumptions or political motivation behind actually extending this help to immigrants as opposed to native people who are here with their run businesses?
No. Part of what we do is that the services we provide to the businesses, we do not discriminate, okay? Because we are funded by the federal government, and we cannot just choose one group against the other, okay? But our focus as an organization is immigrants, okay? When we are in the corridors, we provide our services to all the businesses, okay? And it's just, the reason behind our work is that this was the most disadvantaged group. So the organization was started to provide a service to that group, okay? But when we go out, like when we do our clinics, okay, we pass flyers to each and every store in the corridor, okay? So once you let everybody know that this is what we're going to do, people choose to either attend or not attend, okay? And what happens sometimes is that, especially when you're dealing with a group that does not speak English, then you have to conduct that meeting in a language that everybody is going to understand. So sometimes it's easier to subdivide the group. So if you're dealing with Koreans, then have somebody who can speak Korean to do the translation, okay? Rather than having Koreans, Vietnamese, Chinese in one room, then you have to, when you say one sentence, it has to be translated in Chinese, then into Korea, then into Vietnamese, and then the English person has to understand it. So, but we try, and when we're doing our flyering, in most cases, the information will be in all the languages, and everybody will get a copy to it. Yeah. But our, just to make it clear, our business technical assistance services is for all businesses in the city. Yeah. It's just that it happened that majority of the people who come to us are immigrants. Yeah. Otherwise, the natives, credit, the day you're born, your credit starts building. Okay, so that is not a problem that many natives have, but the only ones who have it are those who had good credit before, but then due to maybe medical bills and things here and there, the credit got turned upside down, and but we still provide help to them. All right, so there are two tools that we use to deal or to provide our services. Okay, we provide support. This is mostly organizational development to CDCs, stand for Community Development Corporations, and business associations. The reason why we provide technical assistance to this group is because we realize that for the immigrant businesses who dominate most of the commercial corridors to integrate well into the communities where they work, they had to collaborate with the business associations that exist in those areas. Okay? So what you'll find is that in each and every commercial corridor in Philadelphia, there is a business association which is catering to the business needs of its members. Then in the bigger area, there will be a community development corporation, of which if any of you here decide to work locally, you will end up going to work with the CDC somewhere. Okay? So the CDCs basically look at the overall economic development of the area, but the business, the BAs specifically focus on the corridor. And so what you will find is that you can go to a corridor where 60% of the businesses are immigrants. Okay? Then there is a business association which is purely managed by the local, the natives. Okay? And then what you'll find is that you find the membership. The immigrants are not members to the business association. So, and the reason why they don't join these associations is because the people who head these organizations do not have the tools to interact with them and actually bring them in to join as members. So what we do is that we help the business associations and the CDCs develop basic tools that they can use to get the migrant businesses to participate in their programs. So we train their staff on cross-cultural communication. Okay? We help them diffuse conflict, which are always there, and we also help the immigrant business owners, okay, and the U.S.-born businesses deal with the problem of isolation by helping them get together in business meetings and clinics, which are held quite often. Okay. The other tool we provide to CDCs and BAs is market research. Okay? And it serves both ways. For the immigrants, when they come to us, the first question that most people will ask you is what business can I start and where can I start it? Okay? So by conducting market research, it helps us have the information to know where market gaps are, so that if somebody wants to start a hair salon or somebody wants to start a grocery store, we'll have the information to know which commercial corridors in the city does not have those services. So it's easier for us to direct the business person to those areas. The other thing that market research can help the BA or the CDCs to attract new business into their corridors. Okay? So that when they're marketing their corridors, which most corridors do, everybody would like to bring in new businesses. If they know what services are missing, then it should be easier for them to promote those corridors. Okay. And then, next. Commercial corridor outreach. This is basically a group of staff going to the corridors and talking to businesses. And given the diverse nature of our corridors, for example, welcoming center, when we go out in the corridors, you'll always find us 3 or 4 people. Okay? You'll find a bald black man, a Caucasian female, a Chinese guy, and a Korean. So we try to reflect that diversity in our work. So when we go out to the corridors, we have to portray it so that, because what you realize is that if you go out, there's some places you can go and somebody will just want to talk to me. And some places you go to and they don't want to see my face, they would like to talk to the next person to me. So to make sure that we provide our services to everybody, we always try to go out in a group, just to reflect the diversity of the clients that we deal with. And we try to tell the CDCs and the business associations that for them to succeed in integrating immigrants into their organizations, they also need to reflect that kind of diversity. And I'll give you an example. One time, a business association called a meeting, and when the meeting was called, 80% of the people who came were Koreans, and none of them could barely speak English. Okay? Then they conducted the entire meeting, 40 minutes, speaking in English. Okay? And then when they left, when the meeting was over, everybody just got out and left. And during that time, they were trying to communicate something that needed to be done in the corridor. And after waiting for 2 weeks, they didn't get any response. Then they just assumed that the Koreans were not interested in what they were doing. What they didn't realize was that they did not communicate anything to them. Okay. So what we try, the services we try to give organizations is like that, is like once we study the nature of the corridor, we know the racial mix in the corridor. We help them translate their literature into different languages that can make everybody understand what they're talking about. Then the materials, okay? Translating every document that you make, every flyer, every information that you want people to know, translating it into languages that they understand. Okay, so those were services, tools that we use to help build the capacity of the BAs and the CDCs. These tools here, this one's now for individual entrepreneurs. And English for Entrepreneurs is one of the courses that we provide. It's a 6 weeks course that is conducted twice a year. And what it does is that it not only teach the business people how to speak English, but they also learn the basic English language skills that a business person would need to know to be able to conduct the businesses successfully. And the way we arrange that course is that in Philadelphia, one of the biggest problems that businesses face is how to deal with the city. Okay? So part of the class is to actually bring somebody from city to come and talk to the businesses on some of the licensing challenges that they face every day, licensing and inspection. So it's this program, this service is one of the courses that has become very popular in the Welcoming Center. And every year we have a backlog of least people trying to come into it. Opportunity calls. Okay? What it does is this is automated monthly information calls that go out every once a month. The opportunity calls is a tool that we use to reach many people. That's number one. Number two, we use it to bridge gaps between organizations. So what we do every month is that we'll go through all the partner organizations that we deal with, collect information about training opportunities, seminars, or new programs that are launching, and then condense all this information into a 2-minute phone message, which is recorded and then transmitted to people who subscribe to it. So how we recruit people for the opportunity calls, when we work in the commercial corridors, we ask them if they are interested in knowing what is going on in terms of business seminars, loan programs, and etc. And then once they sign up, you give out your cell phone number, and so every month, once the call will come to you, and when it rings, you either pick it up and then you listen to a recorded message, or if you're not there, it will go to your voicemail. So, and then it comes out in 6 languages. So if it's a language of your choice, if you want it in Korean, you will receive the information in Korean. If you want it in Vietnamese, it will come in Vietnamese. So what you will understand when you go out to the field is that most nonprofits do not have so much money to employ so many people to serve all the clients that they have to deal with. So it's an innovative way of reaching many clients. Yeah. So we found it to be a very important tool to us, and our customers like it so much. And what it does again is that it helps in reawakening people's dreams. We have one client that every time he receives the opportunity call, then he remembers that, I wanted to start a business. So he calls and says, can I come and help me start that business again? So I don't know if you're getting the point of that part of it. Is that there are people who have always planned to start something, okay? But then it's a dream that it's kind of far, and when it tries to fade away, and then when they get this call, it kind of comes back to life. And so many people have actually succeeded in getting the motivation they need to do that. Business clinics, these are mostly conducted in commercial corridors, and we go to a corridor and we talk with the businesses, and we identify a problem that is common to majority of the businesses. And then based on that, we bring in people who can address it. So if you go to, right now, in 2 weeks' time, we're going to have a legal clinic on leasing in Woodland Avenue. And the reason that prompted that clinic is there's so many immigrants who have businesses there. And when they came in, they signed leases which they did not understand. And what has happened is that some of them have violated the terms of their lease, and they were being kicked out of their businesses. So what we decided to do was to talk with the leasing people who understand the leasing laws, to come and explain to them, like, what are the basic things that you need to look into when you are signing a lease. What should you know? So that is one. The other thing is there are a lot of immigrants who import stuff from their home countries. So in Woodland Avenue, we have so many people bringing food from West Africa. When these foods come in from West Africa, they're not labeled in the proper way that the city health department wants them to be. And so many people every day, they get, after inspections, they get written up. So that is a problem that corridor is facing. So when we identify a problem like that, we organize with the health department people to come in, and then we organize a seminar where they come and explain to them what they need to do. And then if it is a question of packaging and they need help with packaging, then we will organize for them to get somebody who understands food packaging to actually walk them through the steps that they need to walk to package the product so that they're acceptable. How to open a business guides. These are guides, I have a bunch of them back there. Basically what it is given the complicated nature of the business regulations in Philadelphia, so that if you want to start a flower shop, the procedure that you're going to, the paperwork that you're going to do that is different from somebody who would like to do a food truck, and it's different from somebody who would like to do a coffee shop. Okay? So because of that complicated nature, and because there's so many clients that you deal with, the only way you could reach so many people was to develop those guides. So we have guides that direct different people to different businesses in the city, and if you come, you can come to our offices, you get those guides, or you can go to our website, you can download them, okay? And so they've been very helpful to so many businesses. Okay, when you hear about the immigration debate and immigrants, there's a lot of misunderstanding. Those who are on the side who believe that immigration is an asset, and there are those who see immigrants as a liability. And this is just a few data that we collect that show you where the immigrant entrepreneurs stand in the United States. And what you find is that immigrants are more likely to be self-employed than the native born. And the data that has been accumulated since 1880 shows that. Okay? Immigrants are known to take risks. Okay? It starts from the time somebody decides to leave his village in Korea, okay? Get into the plane, go to a country that you do not know anybody, a country where people speak a language you don't speak, okay? But you're able to take that risk, come to Philadelphia, go to West Philly, where even many native borns don't even want to venture into, okay? And start a business there, okay? So that's just to demonstrate to you that immigrants have got that position and courage to take risks. Business, anybody who has ever tried business is a risk-taking venture. When you're getting into business, you do not know whether you're going to succeed or not. Okay? But the only advantage that immigrants have is that you don't have plan B. You don't have an option. Okay? So you come in, you cannot speak English, okay? And you've got no dream of one day becoming a manager of Comcast. So the only option you have is your business. Okay? So they have higher drive to succeed and withstand a lot of turmoil that businesses encounter, more than the local bonds. That is an example from Massachusetts, where 61% of new businesses were funded by immigrants, who only make up 14% of the population in that state. Okay? The same with New York, where half of the self-employed people in New York are immigrants, and they only make 36% of the population. Okay? And the next slide. So when people talk about immigrants, they only think about the people who come across the border. Okay? But immigrants spread. Okay? The United States economy is saturated with immigrants' activities. And that is just a sample of some of the business that have been founded by immigrants. Okay? You can see some of the big names there: Google, Intel, DuPont. Okay? So you have immigrant businesses, some of the Fortune 500 to the lowest mom and pop store in our commercial corridors. Everywhere you find them.
Wouldn't you think that there reaches a point where it becomes a little bit saturated?
That?
Wouldn't you think that it reaches a point where it becomes a little saturated? America is a country of immigrants, so
Yeah.
it's not to negate the importance of immigrants or the importance of cultural pluralism or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
But we're reaching a point economically and socio-politically where it's becoming more restrained, I feel. And correct me or give me your opinion if you think that I'm wrong. But I would just wonder, like, what is the...
Immigrants are becoming a strain?
No, not immigrants, but I'm saying I think that what you're saying, all of these businesses are founded by immigrants, which is great. But what I'm saying is now, we have some very real economic and social political hardships that are facing, just the average Americans. And so I'm just thinking, kind of what is the limit of success, or what is the target? of success when we've had enough of these new businesses or businesses from new immigrants in order to reach some of the goals that you're saying. Because what I'm saying is it might go the other end.
I don't think we've had enough of the businesses. Actually, if you what the president is pushing now, it's like a concerted effort. Small business administration is like all over everywhere, trying to encourage people to start new businesses. That's one. And then the other one is the businesses that are there. It's not that they're going to be saturated. To us, we see that the businesses have opportunity. Right now, there's a lot of export market, which I think is not tapped yet. And then we need more Googles. If something like Google can come up, we need more of that.
I agree with you. I just wonder what the logic is. Is this to say that native or locally born people wouldn't have done the businesses themselves? Or I'm just wondering kind of what the actual social political impacts of it are on people, or what the opportunity costs are, if you will, on people who are already here and who are out of work, who also have business ideas, things like that, who are supporting new businesses. There's a reason for that, because people don't have jobs. It's not because we
No,
we
what
do
you have to
things.
what you have to understand is that apart from welcoming center, okay, there are over 60 organizations working in the city of Philadelphia, okay, trying to encourage people to start businesses. So it's not that don't take it like the local native bonds are like just abandoned and nobody is catering to them. Actually, the services they're getting, they're more saturated with services than immigrants. It's just that the reason why Welcoming Center was created and the reason why the city of Philadelphia is funding us is because for a very long time, okay, the immigrant businesses were just struggling on their own until the city realized that they were actually making a contribution in the city, that they decided to engage Welcoming Center because of Welcoming Center's experience working with immigrants to find a way of coordinating technical assistance to the migrant businesses. But all the services goes to native born. We have organizations that is their focus. The Enterprise Center is one of those leading organizations. We have Small Business Administration, we have SCORE in Philadelphia, and every week, okay, there is a business seminar somewhere encouraging people to start businesses. And now with the President's program trying to increase the United States export in the next 5 years, there is effort for everybody to get into international business, including even the mom and pops in our commercial corridors. Okay? Yeah. And the other thing is that if you get more Googles to create them, unemployment is very high. So if you can get people can come with new ideas to create more jobs, that is good for us. So what has Welcoming Center learned in the work that we do? Yeah? We learned that cultural awareness and social capital in communities, when you provide these two services, okay, it helps with the integration. Okay? So it helps the US-born business owners and the migrants to coexist and succeed together. And the other thing is that when you provide technical assistance or guidance to business associations and CDCs, okay, it can help those organizations drive an inclusive economic development agenda which supports immigrant integration. Okay? And one other thing that I would like to add is that anybody who is familiar with Philadelphia, there is an aging problem in Philadelphia, and most of the neighborhoods you find there's a lot of people who are aging, and then there also has been a lot of migration to the suburbs, okay? And so when you go to some commercial corridors right now in Philadelphia, you find that the places which have actually strips of land where there is no activity, okay? Chester Avenue in Philadelphia was one of those corridors. And if you go to Chester, if you are in Chester Avenue 10 years ago, and then when you go there right now, you'll find what the migrant communities who moved in there have done. It's a vibrant commercial corridor. The buildings which were falling apart, they have renovated the buildings, they brought in businesses, they're creating employment, and they're providing services that the natives who live there who did not have those services are now enjoying those services. Okay?
Excuse me, but that's
Yeah.
also being seen with churches too.
Yeah.
It's also being seen in churches. There are many churches that were built by the local residents of a community that the people have grown older and the congregation has dwindled down to maybe 20 people and are not able to sustain the upkeep of the building.
Yeah.
And the immigrant population that have come in have revitalized these church buildings and have as many as 2 or 3 different congregations
Yeah.
meeting in one building. So that's been an encouraging thing to see as well.
Yeah, so I mean, immigrants, depending on which community you come from, but communities where there are immigrants, there tend to be a lot of vibrancy. Yeah, and for the state of Pennsylvania, which is an aging population, there is more push for more immigrants to come into the state, and the mayor of Philadelphia is on a very serious campaign trying to urge immigrants who are in New York, they can move to the city of Philadelphia because they need people. The city needs revenue, and the revenue is only going to come if the people are productive and people can create businesses and pay revenue to the city so that the city can earn enough money to provide services to its aging population.
What does the average immigrant look like? I mean, so geographic region where they come from, education level, refugees, illegal, legal. What is the makeup of the immigration population you're working with?
Majority of the migrants that we work with, the business side, are from East Asia. That is Koreans, Vietnamese, and Chinese. And then in terms of our employment placement, majority are from Eastern Europe and West Africa.
What are the bulk of your resources at the local Pennsylvania bank? You got like a majority of your funding goes into helping people start businesses or English classes, and you kind of divide it between everything you do, or
No, majority of our resources goes towards vocational training and employment placement. Because the small business work is, we don't, the only funding we get for our small business development is just for the staff and administration. But in terms of what the business really needs, which is the money is being disbursed through microfinancing organizations, so we don't have control over it. Because the other thing you don't want to do is duplicating, trying to do stuff that other organizations are already doing. So you have to leverage the resources. So what we do is that we make sure that if there is an organization already providing microfinance, then we don't need to do it in-house. We collaborate with that organization to provide that service. If there is somebody already providing English language training, yeah, then you don't need to recruit new trainers. Then you just collaborate with that organization to provide it. And so when you look at our small business development program, there are only 2 people. So the city and the state only finance staff and basic administration. But most of the funding is done to other organizations.
Is it still the case that for immigrant communities that are starting a new business, that they do not have to pay taxes on that for the first 7 years? No?
That is something that I hear it. I started my first business when I was 1 year old in the United States, and each and every year I was paying my taxes, and every time we were interacting with other businesses, they're like, "You're doing well because you don't pay your taxes." I don't know where that comes from. Okay? Everybody pays taxes. Yeah. But it's something that is out there. I mean, even when we do our clinics, the businesses, we just think that if you're an immigrant, you come in, the first thing is that Uncle Sam meets you at the airport, gives you a ton of money, and you do whatever you want to do with it. And there are those who believe that immigrants don't even pay rent in the houses where they live, that the government pays for it. I've never seen anyone. The only people who get assistance, I think, are refugees. Okay? And those ones come to the United Nations. It's an agreement that United States and other countries are obligated to. They are signatories to that. They have to take care of refugees. But the immigrants you're talking about, these are legal immigrants. Yeah? Most of them are people who come to the United States through green card lottery, okay? Or one relative came through the lottery and then they're allowed to bring in the relative. Yeah. So, and once you become you're a permanent resident, you pay all the taxes.
Do your lenders lend money to immigrants whose business are located outside the U.S.? And if yes, how do you keep track of progress?
No. The lending has to be in the United States. The only time they will lend you money to do business is right now we are trying to get our small businesses to get into the export business, because that is the push. It's a national agenda to increase export from the United States to other countries. And there are those who are doing it at a higher level, encouraging companies like Google and the rest to do it at a very higher level. But we are focusing on micro export, where if you can find the small businesses in our commercial corridor, so that if you send 3 suitcases of hair shampoo made in the United States, that is good for our economy. So we are focusing on that. And if that is a business you'd like to do, you can only do it if you're based here.
Yeah, I mean, if the individuals physically here, but
Yeah.
business is outside.
It cannot, the only way it's going to work is if your business is registered, say, for example, you're here in St. David, okay? And you're manufacturing something like this, and you want to sell it in Liberia, okay? So what you'll have is either you'll have to have somebody in Liberia buying from you, or you'll have to go and set a distribution center there to sell it, to distribute it to your customers. But all the transactions, the invoices, the purchase orders have to originate from whatever country you're selling it to come to you, and all the payments have to go to the bank account that your lender knows and has control of. But they cannot give you money to go and set base in South Africa and start your store there and have your bank account there. But there is an organization called OPIC. OPIC can work with you. So long as you're a legal resident or a US citizen and you like to do business in a foreign country, they can finance you. Any other question?
Are all the materials that you've developed primarily for doing small business in the city of Philadelphia with all of their rules and regulations, or do you have information for those communities beyond Philadelphia?
No, the only place we have outside Philadelphia is Norristown. Yeah, and beyond Norristown,
I saw you had something for Upper Darby.
yeah, and Upper Darby,
Yeah.
which is
Delaware
just
County.
Delaware County, but
Right. Next to
yeah. So even our employment department has an office in Upper Darby. So that's the only place we work outside Philadelphia. There's a lot of interaction between an adult and the city of Philadelphia, more or less the same. Media education.
What challenges do you face as a company while dealing with immigrants?
Yeah?
What challenges do you face as a company while dealing with immigrants?
The challenges that we face, the greatest challenge we face, first of all, is money. Okay? Money, because given the diverse nature of immigrant communities, okay, and each and every community, for you to work with them successfully, you really have to have skilled people, okay, who understand that community's language, culture, and yeah. So to do that, you need to employ competent people, and that requires a lot of money. And funding is the main problem. That is why we resort to developing materials like that, and so that it's cheaper to pay a translator to develop your materials, and then somebody translate them, and then print them in big quantity to be able to reach so many people. Otherwise, if you don't do that, then it means you'll have to have employees who can interact and provide and communicate with your different types of groups that do not communicate in English. So that is one challenge. The other challenge is it's a resistance that is always there. Yeah. Whether it's at the policy level, for example, for our small business technical assistance work to be funded by the city, it took Welcoming Center 7 years, okay, pleading with the city, administration, and the state to fund this kind of work. Okay? So, as much as the benefits are there for everybody to see, but then again, there are some people in our political system that still feel that immigration is a topic that they do not want to touch. Okay? So even right now, there are some of our programs which have been funded for the last few years, but when there was a change of administration in Harrisburg, nobody wanted to touch them, and they were dropped like a hot cake. So those are some of the challenges we face. But then again, so long as you're true to your mission, you just have to focus. And there will always be people willing to see value in the work you do. And those of you will go into international development. I think 90% of your work is going to be funded by donors, and you'll meet the same challenges.
You say, like, what gives you the most gratification personally in your job working as a musician?
For me, let me just give you a background. I ended up working for the Welcoming Center. When I left Eastern in 2005, you know, the education that you get here, when you're done with your course, one of the things you will feel like you really want to go and change the world in one day. Okay? So there are so many things that I wanted to do. Okay? And the course that I took was non-profit management and MBA. So train you as a business person, but also as somebody who can go into a non-profit setting and actually make a contribution. Okay? So when I left Eastern, I traveled in those two avenues. One part of me went into business, and one part of me went to non-profit work. And after doing business for some time, I decided that I needed to do something to immigrants. Okay? The reason I chose that was because when I started my first business, when I was only 1 year old in the United States, there were so many barriers that I came across. Okay? Even with the background of business, it was just too much, too complicated. So 3 years ago, I went to an organization in Philadelphia to volunteer. And so when I went there to volunteer, they did not have a program for immigrant entrepreneurs. So we talked to the executive director, and I told him that I can help you set up a program that can provide technical assistance to immigrants. Okay? So we started working on that, and then in the process of doing that, after I was with them for like 6 months, just trying to set up the program, Welcoming Center finally got the funding from the city to start the same program we were struggling to start with no money. Okay? Then it happened that the executive director of Welcoming Center knew the executive director that we were struggling to start this program. So through that, he actually recommended me to the Welcoming Center executive director, and that is how I landed up there. And ever since I started working there, the most gratifying thing is when, see that? This is a group of Korean business owners. Okay? Mr. Kim, the guy on the right, came to the United States at the end of the Vietnam War, the Korean War. He worked for the U.S. Logistics Department, and then he decided to come to America to start his business. He's been doing business in 52nd Street. He has chains of stores, but Mr. Kim can barely speak English. And the reason for it is that he's been so focused on business to a point whereby he's never had even a single day to go and sit somewhere to learn English. Okay? So when we started our English for entrepreneurs, and we went around explaining to them what it's all about, they decided to join the class. So they graduated last year, and you could see the day when they graduated, the excitement that was in their faces, and the stories they were telling, okay, the kind of hardship that they face, like customer comes in, they've been so good to your business, and you like to express that gratitude, but it's there inside you, but the language is not there to say it. Okay? That is one. The other thing is when you see somebody get something that you know is going to help them. Okay? The story of the merchant fund that I gave you earlier, the owner of that butcher, his name is Mike. Mike is an Italian immigrant. Okay? And he's been doing business on Woodland Avenue for the last, I think, like 30, 40 years. Okay? So it had reached, those businesses that had reached a point where it could not grow further. Okay? So what he needed was to get a whole new set of freezers so that he can keep whatever he sells longer. Okay? And the problem was that he didn't have the money. And with the economy down, whatever sales he was making, he was only able to pay the people he employs, and then the little is the one that he takes home to take care of his family. There was no way I was going to get that big capital to get a new freezer. Okay? So I went out of my way to find out all this information for him. I spent time explaining to him what he does, and we did the application. I took him for some of the meetings that he had to attend. Okay? And when finally the organization chose him as one of the businesses they were going to finance, he left a voicemail that was very touching. Okay? So it's that kind of gratitude that when you get it, then you feel that whatever work you're doing is making a contribution. Okay? Right now, I'm working with a lady who has a very sad story. Okay? But she's trying to get a food truck to sell food. She was doing it from the backyard of her house. And then the health people came in and shut off the whole thing. And she has children that she has to feed. She cannot work anywhere. So she was only relying on that food she was selling. But we've gone all around the city looking for people who can help her. And finally we found her help. And now, a few weeks time, she'll get a brand new truck that she can use to sell food. Then once she gets that truck, our work is to make sure that we help her identify locations where she can go around and make a living. So for those of you who are going to go into non-profit or NGO work, okay, you're going to work with people. And whatever impact you are going to make, it's something that you see it. Okay? It's not like working for Comcast, where you are only told that last year we made 20 billion. Okay? Here you'll be dealing with human beings, and you can see the change you make, you see it. If you're not making it, then you know you're not doing your work. That is where my satisfaction comes from.
Any last questions? Did you mention where you're originally from?
Kenya. I'm originally from Kenya.
Thank you so much for being here.